The Imperial Magistrate reached a verdict. I have guilty or innocent. Spare me this mockery of justice.
I was honestly, you were fired up.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah.
Not really sure if you can hear that on the original thing, but I was ready for your racist grandpa tirade, and I was like, what the fuck? Then it just dropped.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Well,
and I don't even know when you dropped too, because I was it just kind of made that sound at a certain point.
Good. I hope hope I get to hear that.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Fucking, you know who else is dying? Along with I don't know, Western civilization. No, that's not a good transition.
Nice.
The fucking Batman. He's got his own grave. The Batman's grave.
That's right.
We're returning to Mr. Warren Ellis. When I feel like these books are recent, but at the same time they're probably like from fucking 2 years ago. I think these were coming out.
That old, are they?
2019. Yeah, 2019 until fucking.
2019 to 2020.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so
and then I got the big trade in 2021.
Right. Yeah. So it's a little ways out. It was coming out. I think the tail end of it came out during the pandemic. And so it was kind of like the part of my shift to digital comics.
Man, look right in the beginning of it too. Batman beats up a couple of People's Party guys.
Oh yeah.
Come on, that's enough.
Yeah, that's the first time right off the bat. Fuck. So I don't know, man. This is Warren Ellis returning to a partnership with Bryan Hitch from Authority fame. But it's not the full team. Like it's Bryan Hitch by himself. He doesn't have Neary. Was doing the inking at that time. I forget Neary's first name. And Laura Martin, who has a different name now, I think, was doing the coloring on the Authority. And I do feel their absence in this book.
Yeah, me too. Because is that the same team that did Ultimates?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't know if Laura Martin was involved with the coloring. I don't think so. I don't know who was doing the coloring, but it's definitely like more like the Authority team, Bryan and Hitch.
Yeah.
Or Neary and Hitch. Yeah.
Definitely felt that the everything's there. It's just and I mean I get the Batman color palette. I mean the color palette here was not bad. It was true, like true to the character kind of. It makes me feel like something almost like Tim Burton would do, like sort of palette everything in that like washed out sort of. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Where it's not as murky actually. He produces a pretty good. This guy worked on Astro City. Jim Lee. He's the guy with Jim Lee and Scott Williams. Alex Sinclair, the colorist here. Mm-hmm. So it's good, but it's not. There was just something special about that original Authority team where you were like, I've never seen anything like this.
This is almost like Dark Knight. But I can see that he's washed it out because we're with Batman, which is fine. That's fine. Yeah. Because I like that because there's an aesthetic. But I did feel like it was like, I don't know. I almost would have rathered like a brighter color. That sounds stupid for Batman, but
yeah. Actually what really stood out to me like a sore thumb I think it's like in issue 10 or 11. It shows Batman. He's supposed to have a bruise on his head. And it looks like you know how coloring was in 1960s comics and 1970s, like it's just colors, just sort of like there's no physicality to it sometimes. It's just like if there's supposed to be blood, they're just going to put a red, somewhere. And
exactly.
Yeah. And they kind of did that with Bruce Wayne's face, like on his forehead, they gave him like a purple bruise, but it just looks like a colorist just put some purple on his forehead. And you're just like, well, fucking, you guys aren't even trying because that looks fucking stupid. And yeah, like it's just not. It's better than I could ever do. Like, don't get me wrong, but like something's missing. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And I felt that sort of in a lot of the art and a lot of the panels, some of the splash panels. I don't know. I don't know if it was rushed. Maybe it was his best work, and he's like, what a bunch of fucking assholes. But like, really, it did. Like, a lot of the action felt rushed. Panels didn't really flow panel to panel. Like the action wasn't cohesive, like as it could have been. And I know that Hitch is a little rough that way sometimes.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a big league book, man. Like, you should have turned it up.
And speaking to the question of rushed, I honestly have no clue. But the first issues 1, 3, and 5 have a guest inker or assist inker in the form of Kevin Nolan, and those pages look very Kevin Nolan to me. I don't. Maybe you don't know his, like, not Graham Nolan of Chuck Dixon fame, but a different Nolan. And
this is the first 3 issues you're saying.
Yeah, issues 1, 3, and 5. He makes the characters look a little different, and then sometimes Hitch does his own inks, but sometimes like it looks scratchy as a result, and things. I was looking at it real close, and they don't pull out of that until issue 7, and then issue 7 through 12, I think, actually becomes pretty strong, and so that by the time we're done, I feel that we got the old Bryan Hitch back.
Is that where the post-traumatic sort of moment happens in the shower?
Yes. Yeah. That's. I might be like issue 9 or something like that. But either way, by then I think they're fucking kicking on all. I think once the Bat Hounds were released, I was like, okay, you guys are now. You're back. You're back. Yeah. But yeah, generally kind of an uneven presentation here, and I had pretty high hopes. Warren Ellis coming back to write anything. I'm especially Batman, not anything, Batman. I'm gonna turn up. I want to see what Warren Ellis's Batman is up to, because I like his version of dark action. I think he's very good at it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I liked his bad guy too.
Scorn?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's kind of
I like some creator-owned shit, once in a while. Like,
the funny thing about Scorn, though, is we'll never see him again, or maybe 20 years from now. Like, there's nothing memorable about this character or this story, actually. Like, it aims for, like, okay, it's the anti-Batman, and how are we gonna game this out, and what's that gonna look like? And it looks like kind of like I think Bryan Hitch doesn't design a cool character. Maybe that's what it comes out down to, because like Scorn does not look cool. No, he's just a guy in a fucking perp suit with a glass mask.
He looks ridiculous.
Mm.
He looks like kind of oh man, like he looks a bit like that John Cena character, only with a worse mask.
What, Peacemaker? Are we talking about Suicide Squad? He looks like
Peacemaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he just doesn't look any different or cooler. Like, he should look cooler than his sub minions. So the book is kind of based at, like, it's very video game. It's very, like, especially after he takes over Arkham. It's very like running a gauntlet, having a mini boss, dealing with another mini boss, and then finally you get to the big bad boss. But when you get to him, and it's not like you saw Doctor Doom, it's just like you just saw another one of the mini bosses, and you're like, where's the big boss? Like, don't you understand how this works?
This was like a good action movie, like one of the middle James Bond movies recently. It was great. Daniel Craig's so cool. Yeah. Can't remember who the bad guy was. It was just a good moment, like a good action movie. It didn't have anything that was like shocking or memorable. Then you're right, through the center, the action dragged because we're going through the streets. We're back in the streets. We're fighting mini boss. We're doing a little detective work. Nothing's adding up. Toothless weirdo. Like, no. And then we did that, and then I feel like I did like 4 issues and did that again.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, like this is a really big book, and I'm doing a lot of I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not I think, and this is when it's helpful to contrast against. Incidentally, the new Garth Ennis Reptilian issue came out, number 4. I haven't read it yet, but it's kind of instructive to place the two things side by side, because the detective work. I think, well, actually, no, maybe it's not helpful. I think it's more helpful to place Warren side by side with like procedural television. I was reading The Global Frequency, which came out in 2000, 2001, something like that, I think. And it's a 12-issue maxi series, kind of like this. And he sets up, every issue is its own sort of plot, like an issue of Mission Impossible or something like that. And so you got the thing, it starts at the beginning, there's the middle with the action, and then there's the resolution, and then there's the pithy comment at the end. Boom. And he just runs it like a TV show for 12 issues. And I think Warren, like, he really absorbed that structure, and this whole thing feels like an episode of CSI, or like it's not a movie, it's a TV show, but it's just like it's a season of a TV show, but not in a good way. Like, it's not The Sopranos. It's, I don't know.
It's just like a sort of like a by the numbers sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
Just like we had our intro, and then we progressed through our detective work. We hit a couple of snags. No. You have a major plot crisis, or like a major character crisis. 2/3 of the way through, breaks through the other side, beats the big bad guy clean.
Yeah, but in this, like, you're right of the repetition. Like, how many times does he end up at Arkham Asylum, and what is the point of him being at Arkham Asylum? It brings nothing to the story, and it's not even a good Arkham Asylum. It's just like, it just feels like a maximum security prison where some people are licking the walls for some reason, and you're just like, well, this isn't interesting to look at. It's not really Batman.
Yeah, and the script was good, though. The script, because like he tried to make his warden interesting and different, Yeah,
and actually,
one day, that was, and then I was like, oh, okay, we're going for something cool, and then it was over. All right.
Yeah, he disappeared.
No.
Yeah, fucking Toothless Guy got him. Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. Like, that could be like the tagline of this fucking story. But no, I do like his Gordon. I like his Alfred. I like his interactions between Batman and Alfred. Actually, those, I'd like to see more of that. I think that's not bad.
Yeah, that's gold, and I like his Alfred, and I like the way they talk. I like the way he's condescending and almost like a no. It does. I think it maybe detracts a little bit from this Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, this is a shit Bruce Wayne. Very shitty Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, this Bruce Wayne and Batman both feel a little bit like underpowered. He seems to be on his heels a lot, and then Alfred seems to be like a mentor. It's almost like I guess you could throw it out as like sort of a young Batman or younger Batman. This is what I would imagine him to be like, kind of,
Yeah, but it's a shame that's not how it's.
Yeah, but it's not exactly. The problem is it's not positioned that way. I'm positioned with like a mature, fully functioning Bruce Wayne. I'm in his closet here. I can see three or four different suits. One of them's older. You know what I mean? So and like to have him be diminished by like a hyper intelligent Alfred, and then make so many stupid fucking mistakes along the way, so where your butler had to like cap a guy in your house. Like, it just seems like a not quite the big bad Batman,
Yeah, no, and the Joker has never given Batman this much trouble. Like the city bursts into fucking chaos. There's soldiers, there's skinhead soldiers, People's Party of Canada soldiers on the streets of Gotham. and they're part of the Scorn army, and they're just going to take down the justice system. And like it's a cool action movie, honestly. Like this is like Hitch sells it as an action movie. Like I anyone who thinks that I don't really like the art of this, I oversold my criticisms, because like a lot of this stuff looks really fucking cool. And a lot of the action at the back end is pretty smooth. A lot of fucking twisted bodies and broken arms. Like really horrible violence happening to people, and I'm like, yes, like this is great. This is what I showed up for. And so
well, he's a stiff Batman. Like he's really beating the shit out of people. I like it.
Yeah.
And I really like the and the artwork is like, again, like you complain that maybe Hitch like missed something here or there, or like I gave shit at the beginning, but like really that first scene where he like goes to find that guy's corpse, and then he takes his scanner home and recreates it in his house so that he can sort of play out the murderer's movements. That you can't ask anybody to draw that. I'll tell you that like even great comic book artists would probably be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like I'd be intimidated by that. Was it ever executed? Just like you said, just like out of a movie. Like you could see what was happening, and it was like that's not something that like you need to be so fucking proficient and on your game to create that.
Yeah, actually, I don't think we give Hitch enough credit at all for spawning the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But you do not have the Avengers movies or any of those movies without the Ultimates. And it's not Mark Millar so much as, it's the synergy, right? But it's fucking Bryan Hitch sold cinema, like big action cinema, to Hollywood on behalf of Marvel. And he does some TV work. I think he designed the 2005 Doctor Who TARDIS. So he gets some recognition, but I don't think he gets the recognition enough. Like I think like you wouldn't have Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury if it didn't look like Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in a fucking movie, right?
Yeah, he had a vision, they both did, him and Millar at the time, and they had just like a vision for like, boy, it was like a rougher Avengers. But like, the movies did glaze over a few things, but man, they brought some pretty heavy content to the table. Like, and a lot of it, like you say, like some of those action scenes were just like unreal in those Hitch books, to the point where like even watching Ant-Man like get into that fight, that big Avengers fight, like first thing I thought of was Ant-Man versus Captain America, where you saw him like grow at the bar. Yeah. And it was like, holy shit, like right beside a bunch of buildings and stuff. Is so shocking.
Yeah. And that's hard to do, because like giant powers, and unless you place that's another, Hitch did a really great job of making the giant men frightening, because he draws these realistic backgrounds. Like his Gotham City looks like a fucking city. It doesn't look like Tim Burton at all. It just looks like New York. Or portions of LA, or just somewhere where there's a bunch of fucking skyscrapers. But it's not ornamental. Even his Arkham is very, there's no weeds growing on it. It's not like we saw in fucking Kevin Smith's Batman, where where it was just like all macabre and stuff like that. It was much more Kelly Jones. This is just like, no, it's neoclassical. It's clean. It's an asylum. Like it's what you would expect it to look like within a Chicago or something like that.
It's exactly like the hospital in Grimsby.
Right. There we go. Yeah, right.
Yeah, honestly, if you're driving through and you have an emergency, stop there. Yeah.
Show up at Grimsby.
It's awesome. It's just like,
actually, I want you to send me a picture of that then. That's, you never know when you're going to find some cool architecture.
I go there all the time for stuff, knock on wood.
So yeah, back to the emulator scan. That's what sent us on this fucking yes. I like that bit about one thing that's really good about Warren Ellis's Batman is, and this gets back to the TV criticism though, like it's like his superpower in this is his ability to think like his enemy. And the big problem with Scorn is that, like, it's not that he can't fight Scorn, it's just that he can't think like him. And he doesn't realize how to beat Scorn until he's able to enter into his psychic space, but everybody else is immediately available to him. And they do that in really interesting ways where, like, the Batman's body will be like, he'll take on a character and then he'll be replaced with Toothless Freak, or, you know, like whoever, or that fat guy that blew his brains out. I like that, but it's not. It's a, you know, and getting back to the TV thing, it's a very TV detective thing. It's a very post fucking Stephen Moffat Sherlock thing to do. Or fucking maybe I've never watched Hannibal, or just like all these TV shows where they individually, like Criminal Minds or something like that, where, you know, whereas previously he would get like clues and shit like that and piece stuff together, in this he takes on the persona of his adversary and then makes intuitive leaps of logic in order to solve the crime. And that, you know, that seems to be his superpower. And that's not world's greatest detective as I understand it, but that's a way to do it. That's a way to approach Batman that you don't often see. So that's kind of cool, but I don't think it's going to stick.
Yeah, it's true. I know what you mean. It's but I think that's the whole thing, is that it just makes him, like, it takes him so long to execute that plan.
Mm-hmm.
And to actually figure out who the hell this guy is and how he's pulling this off in his fucking city, that he just seems diminished. He just doesn't seem like, it's not like Batman. This is like kind of how, like, this is what I imagine Nightwing would do to handle this situation if Batman was fucking dead in the Lazarus pit and he put on the fucking cowl for a few weeks. This would be like the adventures of, like, Nightwing in the baggy suit, Grant Morrison style or whatever.
Shit, that's and you know what, man?
And he's fucking smart, and he's ahead of the curve. He's capable of doing Batman stuff, but he's just like,
for sure,
he's just slipping here and there, you know. And that's this feels like to me. Like, why is there like a bald dude in the prison actually getting fucking chops off on him? Come on.
Yeah, well, he kind of spots him at the beginning, but why is any of this happening? Like, it doesn't make. How did he get
caught so badly with his pants down?
Yeah, like you're like, an army has been forming in your city and you don't know. Like, don't you, like, you own Gotham, dude? Like, you're Batman, and yeah, this Batman is underpowered, and, like, on the one hand, that's required in order to have this action scenario. I think this is why we might actually be touching on maybe a weakness of the Batman franchise, which we think is a strength. You know, like, our Batman is fucking in control, but, like, how many dramatic scenarios can you have with a Batman who's totally in control of his city? Who knows when the triads are coming in, you know, right?
Well, you got, you know, think of me as a surgeon. You got your control scenes in this book.
You did.
Like, oh fuck, like, that's Batman. Like, this guy's fucked. and you know, so like you say, I mean, like, with the story, just sucks shit if he just, like, beat the guy in 3 pages.
Yeah. I think just a different writer would have made this. I'm thinking about, like, late 80s, early 90s, Chuck Dixon era, Marv Wolfman era comics would have made this like a story about how Batman detected this the emergence, you know, like, I've heard from my contacts at the bar where I brutally beat people and tell them to tell me about the street. They told me that there's a new gang moving in, and he would be like trying to diffuse the gang. And in this story, the gang's fully formed, but I don't know, it doesn't make it. Neither of those stories are very good in my mind. You kind of want somewhere in the middle, you know, like, you don't want him to be dealing with a paramilitary incursion into Gotham. There's something about it where you're just like, this shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's not possible. He shouldn't have been blindsided at a prison. He just shouldn't be blindsided quite that often.
Yeah, well, not by an army.
Every time he got I think only maybe like 2 out of 5 major fight scenarios he actually had control and initiated the fight. Like the other times he just got like attacked and like was just on his heels, and it's just like that's cool for like a shock moment, but like if I see that 3 times in a Batman book, I'm like, well, what the fuck is Batman doing?
Yeah, like, is he not? But that said, that scene where he fucking he shows up on his flying ATV. I want to. Okay, before we talked about that scene, I do want to give Ellis credit about something that I don't think we'll organically get a credit for. He's great at coming up with Batman gadgets. I love the Batman gadgets in this fucking book, and like they're absolutely vital to his survival and everything that he does. I had never thought about flying Batman ATV. He shows up and like that's the cool scene, but like Hitch sells it perfectly.
Yeah, that was awesome, and it's one of those things too. For the lore of the character and for the real, the true Batman going back all the way to the 60s, the gadgets are their own character. It's a critical thing, and I feel like the whole like I don't know I shouldn't give him too much shit. I mean, he did his best, but I feel like the Christopher Nolan thing was just like he was just in there banging, the gadgets sort of took a back seat.
Yeah, that's a mistake. Like I think that is a mistake in those movies, because like where does he get those wonderful toys? Like that's an important, super important part of Batman, and that stuff's fucking lost. And it makes Batman seem like an underpowered boob in those movies. Anyway, that's a different thing. The
sort of makes him just come off as a bruiser, not a guy that puts a fucking dinnerware underneath his shirt to prevent himself from being shot and then slinks away. Come on.
Yeah. We could. That'd be funny to do those movies head to head. Batman Begins versus original Batman. That's a funny episode.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that. Warren's technobabble sci-fi, like version of technobabble sci-fi, is very effective in this universe. Like Warren has one of the things that I've always and actually really admired about Warren, fuck you Warren, all that whatever, but I can admire a writer, and I admire Warren's ability to like keep his eye on the fucking shit of the world. Like he's genuinely out there reading about, secret states and reading about like intelligence ops and assassinations and fucking real world violence, and what dictators get up to, and cults and stuff like that, what they really get up to. And he's very good about capturing that and bringing it in this story and bringing it into Batman's world. It makes a lot of sense. And it actually makes Alfred extremely strong in this story. Like that's what makes Alfred strong, is that he comes from that darker sort of world of intelligence. So much so that when he pulls out a gun on someone it's an old World War II gun. It's like, I think it's a VP-70Z, something like that. And but he's, and I'm just like, that's fucking cool. So I like that about this story. I like that it's very geopolitically and militarily aware.
Yeah, it's true. I never really thought about that. I was just sort of flipping through the end of the book there. He stays like technologically up. He stays up on current events. He stays up on gossip, and it just sort of makes you feel like the technology and the even when there's like terror cells and stuff, they feel modern. It feels like you're up to date within even, like, I would say, the last 5 years. Which is rare, especially when you get to and when you get to, like, the high level in the craft or whatever. Like, let's face it, you're probably 60.
Yeah. It's true.
So I mean, like, sometimes you don't stay up on the tech stuff. You don't stay like I don't know. Like, I'm gonna give Neil Gaiman a hard time or anything, but I don't. He
doesn't know his fucking ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah, that's not his shtick, man. He just tells magic stories that feel like they're the fucking Princess Bride.
Yeah. The Dreamweaver.
Yeah. So it's that was a bad person to bounce off of, but I'm just saying, when you get old, you tend to just not reference newer things.
Well, it wouldn't be necessary. Yeah, but with Warren's type of writing, it's absolutely required. Like a lot of this, at least one of the issues is focused around smart homes and the technology surrounding, like, home security systems and stuff like that, like, and talking about Alexa and Alfred's like, people put that in their homes, and, like, you tried to put that in everybody's home.
That's funny. It's just it's funny to be able to, like, take like a back and forth between Alfred and Batman that's just like a couple of blurbs on maybe 2 panels, and, like, take a full shot at Alexa and Amazon and Bezos just in a blah blah, like, a couple sentences.
No, it makes sense, because Bruce is super, he's rich. He's one of the ultra elite, like, he's constantly talking about, like, actually, we created that technology too, and we also profit off of this.
And it's funny too, because Alfred always, in this particular story, he always positions, like, Bruce as a little mentally unbalanced.
Going out to beat.
Yeah. Was I can't remember what the scene was where he said, are you going to beat them, are you going to continue this into your 60s or whatever, when you beat up the next generation of
it's like issue 10 or something like that. It's I do like, okay, so at the end of reading this, I was like, what is the point of this book? Like, really, what is the point of it? Because it ends with Batman with a fucking huge bit of shrapnel in his fucking side, dying, apparently dying on his own future grave. And I was like, well, wow, cool. Honestly, I've never seen that Batman ending, but I was like, what is the point of that? This book is always kind of wrestling with the point of Batman, throughout it, but it's not like, there's something about it that isn't for the ages. And I think I've already said this, like, this book it's never going anywhere. No one's ever going to take this story and do anything with it, because it's not an elegant ending. It's just like, don't you realize you're going to die one day, Bruce Wayne, and then he dies at the end, and you're just like, well, I didn't learn anything on that journey. I didn't learn anything about the human condition or death or meaning or purpose or anything like that. It was just like this pointless discussion that happened before maybe Batman died, maybe he didn't.
Yeah, I know, and you don't even get the, like, real, like, I don't know. I don't get the feeling that he actually died at the end of this book. For me, it's like, if you didn't kill him, then you can cheapen the ending as well. But hey, did you get the fancy edition? Do you have the complete collection?
No, I bought. Well, oh no, I bought all the quote unquote bought all the issues. So I haven't looked at the collection. I don't know what's in there.
It's just all the issues or whatever, but there's a few pages at the end where you get to see Kevin Nolan's art inking versus Bryan Hitch doing his own. It's pretty neat.
Oh, I would have liked to have seen that. I can see it though. I can see it on the page.
I'll send it. I'll send you a couple pictures later. It's just like there's only two pages of it anyway, but it's just neat to see Hitch's original pencils.
Yeah, yeah.
They're crazy. The city's unreal. It's like an architecture drawing.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's exactly it. Like, and I think that's, we've already said that's definitely one of the things he brings to the table that you're not going to get from anyone else. Yeah, he's like it. One thing about Hitch, he never skimps on the background. Which we've seen a lot of complaints about that over the past, like how many faces over white panels do you get? You never get that with Hitch unless it's required for the script.
Oh no, I was all over the place, and his Batcave was unreal. His Batcave was very good. Even just like any chance to break through a door or break through a window or like put you in like an office space or falling out of a building. I mean, like, you got your money's worth here that way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe we could wrap up on this. I don't know if there's nothing else popping out to me here. Yeah, good violence at Arkham. No, I got it all covered. So fucking, I don't know, a 7.5.
I'm around a 7.
Yeah, that's a shame because I think we said so many good things about this, but like, I'm never gonna recommend this book.
And I was fired up.
Yeah.
No, there's just so much. There's so much. Like, I think that the fucking Court of Owls stuff that Snyder did was better than this. Like, just even if you grab any of his books. I mean, I think I've only read up to 4, but like,
no, it's a different flavor. I got a funny question for you.
I just mean, like, if I was gonna throw a book at somebody, blind, like, I'm not that into comics, but I really like Batman, or I'm pretty into comics, but I haven't read a lot of Batman. I would think that you'd make a better friend if you recommended Snyder over this.
Yeah. I gotta. What would you give? I think maybe we talked about this a little bit. Like, what would you give someone as an introduction to Batman? Like, what would the thing you're just like, okay, you don't really understand Batman. Here you go.
Wow.
It's a weird responsibility.
Yeah, and I got a lot of Batman stuff that I like too. And I feel like it's really a lot more offbeat than what you generally like too. But
I bet we start at the same place. I bet we're like, we got to start with Frank. We're gonna have to start with Frank, move on from there.
I'd say pretty like, but maybe not what you think I would pick. I think I would do year 1.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think you should read. I think you should go year 1 if you want to really like get like a top of the pops,
Oh, interesting. I like that.
The Dark Knight Returns a little. It's not. It's a little too futuristic for me. It's a bizarro world. I think you need to be a little more psychedelic to be into that story.
That's fair. No, because like Dark Knight Returns, you theoretically would never have to read Batman ever again. You're done. It's the end. Whereas year 1 is literally not the end. The point of it is like, here's the beginning. So it is a much better jumping off point.
Yeah, I just think it's got a real like, if you really want to feel kind of what Bruce was like. What like drove him to be a maniac or whatever, then you kind of get like I can get behind this character then and watch him do like other things. I don't know.
Oh, and it helps actually that Commissioner Gordon gets like a lot of cool moments in that. Like, we already talked about this.
Oh yeah, that's 5-star. Yeah. Yeah, and then I really like Damian Wayne.
Oh yeah.
And I like Grant Morrison's parts of what he did. I don't know that I really enjoyed Batman Incorporated all that much.
That's fair.
It was okay, but but really like the really cohesive, and obviously Quite Lee, does this thing also, but that when Nightwing and Damian search for Bruce, that's a great batch right there.
It is, but that's funny. Isn't that funny about Batman though? Like, okay, so what? Like,
I guess that's not okay, Batman really, right?
Yeah, you're like Batman Year One, and then Grant Morrison, and you're like, what connects those two fucking things? Like Batman's so amorphous. Like, what do you give people to get it? Like, I'd never give anyone Grant Morrison's run. Because that's the fucking, like, I love that run, but I'm just like, no, that's not where you start. Like, you're gonna need to understand all the pastiche and shit like that, and he's drawing on like 7 different fucking eras of Batman in order to make that work.
There's some great Chuck Dixon stuff too. Like, I fucking love that 500, the Ra's al Ghul Detective Comics.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shit in there. I love that stuff in there. Excuse me. Yes. Anything around there. I loved all that. I like the Nightfall a lot.
Yeah.
And Paul, the battle against Paul.
Yeah, but again, like, would you give that to someone in order to, like, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons that Batman didn't get a huge bump from the Christopher Nolan movies, because well, I don't know, especially by the time they hit Bane, like, how many people have tried to read Nightfall because of Batman? What was the third movie? What was that called?
Oh yeah, and it was not like he had reimagined Bane.
Yeah, in a good way. Like, I like that.
In a great way, but yeah, if you flip back to the comics, you'd be sorely disappointed if you really liked that movie ahead of the comics.
Yeah.
But like, and then even like really, if you want, like, Kelly Jones, and that Doug mentioned Kelly Jones, what a fucking Batman those guys put down on the table as well. Like, that's gorgeous stuff, and it's so well put together. It's that and like, honestly, because of you and Chris, I had never even really dipped into that stuff. I've seen some Kelly Jones art, but I'd never been into those stories at all. I'd never touched them prior to us reading some of them.
Yeah, but it's fucking, there's no shortage of great Batman work. I don't think that's really, like, that's not up for dispute. Like, I get on it, like, Doug mentioned Gene Colan.
So what are you throwing down as your first Batman story?
Well, I would have done Dark Knight Returns, but I think maybe you've persuaded me that Year One's a better option. And then I guess after that, like, fuck, I'm gonna have to do the first Ra's al Ghul graphic novel with Mike O'Barr and fucking that guy from the Suicide Squad, like Son of the Demon or something like that. I think I kick him over to there. I think that would help him make sense of the landscape. Dark Knight Returns maybe after that. It's weird that I would gravitate toward that 80s realism, like, quote unquote realism, though. Because, like, Batman's very cartoony. And I think actually this allows us an opportunity to get back to Warren. Like, Warren is part of that 1980s realism Batman. Like, his Batman is not anything other than, he even has a shitty, like, side quote from fucking Dark Knight Returns. I'm the surgeon. Kind of a cool scene, but it's just like, you're like, and he has a bat tank and stuff like that. I think this story is kind of a warmed over 1980s. Batman's Grave is kind of a warmed over 1980s idea of what Batman is. Yeah, it's like, not as playful. Yeah, because like what do you do when you make Batman too realistic? You make him underpowered. And he doesn't live in a magical universe or anything like that. And
listen, you don't want the universe to be too magical, though, or else you end up like fucking Joel Schumacher.
But some people, like, that's part of Batman. That's a legitimate part of Batman. Is like, Batman is psychedelic. He is 1960s Batman. He's like fucking fighting jokers and Riddler and all these like people who fucking dance on giant typewriters.
Fuck, like Batman guy.
Yeah. And it's, that's part of the Batman heritage too. And like, that's why Grant Morrison's run to my mind is like most Grant Morrison books, it's kind of a summing up of a tradition and trying to wring what's essential and true out of it. And he does a good job. I'll actually agree with you that Batman Incorporated, by the time it gets there, it gets a little weak. It gets fucked up, and I think Morrison is actually criticizing Batman at that point, in some good ways, and also in some ways that you're just kind of like uninterested in at a certain point. But
these are all the reasons that you are romanticized by Kevin Smith.
What do you mean?
that he incorporated the throwback, a real fanboy.
Well, yeah, no, but that actually I said at the time that it was a post-Morrison thing, though. Like it was a thing that you did at the time. But if you like with most Morrison books, it turns self-critical at a certain point. Like he turns inward. If you leave Morrison on the run for too long, he's going to start questioning the purpose of his long run in this particular comic, and it's going to turn self-critical and fucked up. Like that's how the X-Men ended. It's just like at the very end, it's just like this whole thing is fucked, and and just like everything's terrible, but there's still some hope within it. But at the end of the day, he just becomes like his Batman run-in is ending. It's very unsatisfying because it feels extremely pessimistic. And yeah. Anyway, not like the Kevin Smith thing, where it was just the throwback stuff. Anyway, so I don't know. Batman's grave. Fucking Batman died on a grave.
Yeah,
it happened.
Batman. His grave didn't really have anything to do with it until he died on his own grave at the end. But he didn't die. Yeah, 5 years from now, no one's gonna know what the fuck we're talking about because this series didn't happen. And Warren should be. I think Warren's pretty well canceled now. Also, so this is the last. This is the last thing he does. No, seriously though, this is probably the last book he'll do mainstream for any major company.
For a long time.
You can't be throwing him on a DC book right now. Heyo.
Yeah. Jeez, no, you can't.
Netflix doesn't even want him on set anymore.
Yeah. When fucking Netflix throws you to the side.
Yeah, man. If Netflix banishes you for worry about how their brand looks, shit, you would definitely not work for Marvel or DC.
Kevin Spacey shit.
Yeah, you're not even going to Sony at that point.
Yeah. I don't know. He's making some moves. He's actually talking to all of his victims, supposedly, and like coming to some sort of how I can help the movement kind of moment. And whether genuine or not, like I can't judge what's in Warren's mind, but if he's actually going to do that might be restorative for him. You never see a celebrity do that.
I've never heard of anyone doing that, so that's definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. He's I've been on his newsletter fucking since forever. That's how I learned about this thing, actually. Like, I didn't learn about it from like social media. Like Warren, probably politically, let everybody know it has happened that a number of women have come out against me, et cetera, et cetera. Here's their website. Here's their position. I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to back off. I've heard a lot of people, and I'm going to listen. And whether it's genuine or not, like he's engaging in all the right actions. And it feels cynical as a consequence because it's all the right actions. It's the perfect action that you perform. As if he knows what to do to even navigate this shitstorm. And then he'll come out the other end.
Like Justin Trudeau.
Like Justin fucking Trudeau. Yep.
The smug fucking answer for everything.
Only Canadian Prime Minister fucking caught blackfacing. you know, like on multiple occasions.
The first Black Canadian Prime Minister. No, thank you.
That's it. I don't know what I'll do with that. I don't know what I'll do with that ending, but.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.